Chosen one, if the low thunder of a lion rolling across the dark has ever made your chest tighten before your mind could explain it, this warning is for you. Because some spirits hear that sound and only think danger. But yours hears something else: presence, boundary, authority. Now stay with me. This creature does not rush to prove itself. It can lie still for long hours, dust on its coat, breath slow, eyes half closed, while the whole field keeps moving around it. Up to 20 hours of rest, and still no weakness in it. That silence is not emptiness. It is stored force. Psalm 46 verse 10 says, "Be still and know that I am God." Chosen one, what if the season people mocked in you was not delay at all, but preparation? And hear this, when it does rise, it does not ask permission from the ground beneath its paws. This is an apex predator, no natural enemy over it in its own place. That matters, because the world has trained many chosen ones to think like prey, to move like prey, to panic like prey, while heaven marked them for untamed dominion. But the deepest mystery is not its teeth or even its stare. It is the sound. A roar that carries for miles, announcing what belongs where before anything touches it. And that is where this message turns. If this is already speaking to your spirit, like the video and subscribe, because the next thing the lion reveals is why your voice has been under attack. And that is where people miss the sign, because the sound is only part of the message. Look closely at the animal itself. As the male ages, the mane does not stay light and thin forever. It grows darker, fuller, heavier around the neck and shoulders. And even from a distance, that thick frame says something before the body moves. It signals strength. It signals maturity. It warns rivals that this is not youthful noise wrapped in flesh. Proverbs 20, verse 29 says, "The glory of young men is their strength, and the splendor of old men is their gray head." In other words, heaven marks growth in visible ways. Now catch this, chosen one. What if the pressure on your life has been doing the same thing? What if the years that felt dry, the long still seasons, the heat, the waiting, the hidden wrestle, what if they were adding weight to you, not taking life from you? The mane is not decoration. It is a sign that time has deepened the creature, and those who challenge it read that sign fast. So some resistance around you increased when you became quieter, steadier, less easy to pull off course. The field can sense when immaturity is falling off and something firmer is taking shape. Isaiah 61 verse 3 speaks of beauty for ashes, and sometimes that beauty looks like weight. But there is another mystery in this beast, and it may explain why your life has never fit into the pace of everybody else. And that difference in pace is design. This creature is not built to perform all day just because the field is noisy. When it moves, it can explode forward in a short burst at around 80 kilometers an hour, fast enough to stun anything watching, but only for a brief distance. Then it slows. Then it resets. The power is real, but it is not careless. Ecclesiastes 3 verse 1 says, "To everything there is a season." Chosen one, do you hear that? Not constant motion, not endless strain. Season. Now let this reach you where you live. Many chosen ones have been shamed because they do not move like the crowd moves. They are not made for frantic speed in every hour, on every demand, for every voice calling their name. This animal rests deeply, then releases force with precision. That means the stillness and the suddenness belong to the same nature. One is not weakness. The other is not recklessness. They are both part of how authority works. And this is where people misread you. They saw the quiet and called you passive. Then they saw one sharp movement, one clear decision, one holy no, one moment of fire, and suddenly they said you changed. No, chosen one, you did not change. They just met your timing. But if that timing is real, then there is a harder question waiting underneath it. Who taught you to spend lion strength on battles that were never yours? And that is exactly how strength gets wasted. Not because the beast is weak, but because the field keeps baiting it to move at the wrong time. Watch this creature long enough, and you start to see a pattern. It does not throw itself at every sound in the grass. It does not burn that stored power on every little disturbance, every shadow, every rustle. An apex predator knows the cost of needless motion. The chest stays low, the breath stays measured, the eyes stay fixed. Proverbs 17 verse 27 says, "He that hath knowledge spareth his words." Chosen one, the same wisdom lives in disciplined restraint. Now, hear me clearly. The lion is often judged by those who do not understand lion nature. Its stillness gets called laziness. Its selectiveness gets called pride. Its refusal to chase everything gets read as disinterest. But the field is confused, and many chosen ones have suffered under that same false reading. They were carrying power, but people kept naming that power wrong. Reset your mind here. The beast does not answer every provocation because every movement costs something. Dust lifts under the paw. Muscles tighten under the hide. Breath deepens in the ribs. Even preparation has a price. So, if the enemy cannot overpower a lion directly, it will try to drain it indirectly. And that should make you pause. Because if wasted motion is one trap, there is another one hidden even deeper in the sound, in the space around the roar, in what that presence marks as its own. And that deeper trap has everything to do with territory. This beast does not release sound for drama. When that deep call rolls out through open air, it is doing something precise, marking space, announcing presence, drawing a line that other creatures can sense long before they come close. A call heard for miles is not random noise. It says, this ground is known, this boundary is watched, this presence is awake. Psalm 16, verse 6 says, "The lines are fallen unto me in pleasant places." Chosen one, even in the natural, this animal understands what many people forget in the spirit. What is yours must be named. Now feel the weight of that. The chest lifts, the ribs expand, the sound moves through the throat, and the air itself seems to vibrate around the beast. It does not need to run everywhere at once if its presence has already gone ahead of it. That is wisdom. That is order. And so confusion enters when boundaries go silent. Many people are exhausted for the same reason a lion would be exhausted if it never marked its space. Everything wanders in. Every demand crosses the line. Every draining voice gets access. Every disturbance reaches the center. Ephesians 4 verse 27 warns, "Neither give place to the devil." Give place. In other words, do not leave the ground undefined. So now the question gets personal. If this creature survives by making its presence known before chaos gets close, what has been stepping into your territory simply because your roar has been missing? And once you understand territory, you start to understand misreading. The creature is often watched by eyes that do not know what they are looking at. Its long rest gets mistaken for weakness. Its measured pace gets mistaken for fear. Even the way it holds space without rushing can trouble the field, because calm authority unsettles anything that lives by panic. 1 Samuel 16 verse 7 says, "Man looks on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart." Chosen one, even in this beast, the outward picture fools the untrained eye. Now think of the mane, the stored strength, the marked ground, the sudden burst. All of it can be standing right there in plain sight and still be named wrong by whatever is watching from a distance. That is not a small thing. Misnaming is one of the oldest ways power gets diminished. If the field can call lion nature arrogance, then it can pressure the creature to shrink. If it can call discipline coldness, then it can tempt the beast to loosen what should stay guarded. Let this sink in. Misunderstood, the animal remains what it is. John 15 verse 19 says, "Because you are not of the world hates you." There is friction around whatever refuses to blend. So when pressure rises around real authority, that pressure may not be proof that something is wrong. It may be proof that something has finally become visible. And if visibility changes the resistance, then the next thing you must see is this. Not every voice around the lion deserves an answer. And that is a lesson the beast never forgets. It does not whirl at every sound that brushes the edge of its ground. It does not fling its breath at every passing disturbance. Even with a far-carrying roar, it is selective. The throat stays closed until the moment means something. The body remains steady. The head lifts only when the sound must establish order. Proverbs 10 verse 19 says, "In the multitude of words there wanteth not sin, but he that refraineth his lips is wise." Chosen one, even this creature teaches restraint. Now picture it. Dust settles on the mane. Ears twitch once. The chest rises, then stills again. Around that calm, lesser noises come and go. But the animal does not treat each one like a threat worthy of full power. Why? Because wasted sound is like wasted motion. It drains presence. It lowers the weight of what should remain rare. An apex predator does not need to prove itself every minute. This is where many of the chosen get worn thin. They answer every growl around their space. They let irritation pull sound out of them before wisdom gives permission. But the lion guards more than ground. It guards the value of its own voice. Ecclesiastes 5 verse 2 says, "Let thy words be few." So hear the warning inside the image. If the beast knows not every noise deserves an answer, then why has your spirit been reacting to every little thing that steps near the boundary? And what would change if your silence became as deliberate as your roar? And that deliberate silence reveals something else. Authority is not the same as noise. A beast with real weight does not need to stay loud every moment to remain feared. Its power sits in the body even when the mouth is closed. The shoulders stay broad under the mane. The paws press into the earth without hurry. The eyes do not dart. They lock. That kind of stillness has pressure in it. Mark 4, verse 39 says that even the storm answered one command, not 1,000 frantic words. Chosen one. Lion authority is measured. Now watch how distraction works around this creature. Little movements at the edge of the grass, passing sounds, shifting scent in the air. All of it can try to pull the head in 10 directions at once. But the animal that rules its ground does not surrender its focus to every interruption. It keeps its line. It keeps its center. It does not confuse activity with purpose. So the field studies the lion so carefully. If the body can be drawn into constant reaction, then strength gets scattered before the real moment arrives. The dust may rise, the muscles may tense, the breath may sharpen, and still nothing meaningful has happened. Proverbs 4, verse 25 says, "Let thine eyes look right on." So here is the hidden danger. A creature can keep its territory, guard its voice, and still lose power one small reaction at a time. And once that pattern begins, only one thing can break it: disciplined living. Now listen carefully, chosen one, because this is where the message turns into instruction. First, stop trying to fit into what keeps shrinking your spirit. The animal never asked the field for permission to be itself, and neither should you. If your place keeps demanding that you silence your gift, dull your fire, or explain away your calling, then you are not in alignment. Romans 12, verse 2 says, "Be not conformed to this world." So take the step. Let the false mold crack. Second, guard what enters your inner life. A lion does not leave its ground open, and you cannot leave your mind open to everything either. What you watch, what you repeat, who you let speak over you, that matters. Proverbs 4, verse 23 says, "Keep thy heart with all diligence." Chosen one, your peace is not cheap. Protect it like treasure. And hear me, this is not about fear. This is about order. The pride does not survive by being everywhere at once. It survives by knowing what belongs and what does not. So, if the pressure around you has been growing, maybe heaven is showing you where your boundaries are too thin. Reset right here, because the next step is even harder. Once you stop blending in, your voice changes, and not everybody will like what they hear when you finally speak. And that voice, chosen one, is not meant to sound like everyone else's. It does not beg, it does not panic. It carries weight because it comes from a place of certainty. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, Proverbs 18, verse 21 says. And the lion knows that a sound can change the whole mood of the ground. A roar that carries for miles is not just loud, it is decisive. It tells the field where authority ends and where order begins. So here is the warning. If you keep speaking fear, you feed fear. If you keep speaking defeat, you train defeat. But if you speak with faith, even while your paws are still planted, you start moving in untamed dominion before anything changes on the outside. Chosen one, your words are not decorations. They are declarations. Now, this is where the battle gets sharp, because the enemy does not always try to silence the lion at once. Sometimes, it just tries to make the voice sound small, awkward, uncertain. It wants hesitation. It wants you to apologize for clarity. It wants your throat to close before the moment comes. So speak anyway, but do not speak carelessly. Because once the creature learns how to use its voice with purpose, there is one more thing left to confront, and it is closer than you think. And that brings us to the last thing the enemy wants from you, chosen one: confusion about who gets your answer. The beast does not turn its head for every shape at the edge of the grass. It does not waste breath on every small noise, every false alarm, every passing stir that wants attention. A roar that carries for miles is not spent on nonsense. It is reserved. It is aimed. So the animal keeps its center, while everything lesser keeps trying to pull it sideways. 1 Corinthians 14, verse 40 says, "Let all things be done decently and in order." Order matters. So hear this with your spirit open. Every voice around you is not sent for you. Every opinion is not your assignment. Every challenge is not a summons. If you answer everything, you lose the weight of what is holy. If you respond to every pull, you scatter the strength heaven placed in you. The lion knows better than to chase what is only trying to drain it. That is the lesson chosen ones never learn until they are tired beyond words. They keep giving access to noise, to pressure, to people who were never meant to carry their trust. But wisdom starts when you ask, who actually deserves my response? And once that question lands, something deeper begins to stir. Because the next test is not about what you hear. It is about what you refuse. And refusal is one of the clearest signs that the creature knows what it is. It refuses to live by herd approval. It refuses to shrink its ground to make lesser things comfortable. It refuses to trade deep rest for constant performance or focused strength for scattered motion. That kind of refusal is not rebellion for its own sake. It is alignment. Galatians 1 verse 10 asks, "For do I now persuade men or God?" Chosen one, the lion does not study the field to ask whether it is acceptable. It stands in what it was made to be. Now picture that refusal in the body. The shoulders stay square. The eyes stay steady. The mane catches the light, full with age, and the whole frame carries a message without speaking. I will not become smaller so you can feel larger. So an apex predator can unsettle the space around it without taking a step. Presence alone becomes pressure. And this is where many chosen ones have been breaking themselves. They kept asking the wrong voices for permission. They kept trimming back what God was growing. They kept trying to sound soft enough, small enough, ordinary enough, and still the field remained uneasy. Why? Because the unease was never about behavior. It was about identity. So if refusal is wholly in the right place, then the next thing you must discern is this. When the creature stands apart, is that loneliness or preparation? And that question matters more than most people realize. When this creature stands apart, when the air is quiet around it, when only the slow pull of breath lifts the ribs and lowers them again, an untrained eye may call that loneliness. It sees distance and assumes loss. But the animal itself is not always abandoned when it is alone. Sometimes it is simply unentangled. Sometimes the still ground around it is making room for clarity. Hosea 2 verse 14 says, I will allure her and bring her into the wilderness and speak comfortably unto her. Chosen one, separation can carry instruction. Now stay with the image. The mane holds dust. The ears turn toward the faintest sound. The body is alert, even in quiet. That is the difference. Destructive isolation drains a creature, but sacred withdrawal sharpens it. One leaves the body hollow, the other leaves it ready. You can hear the difference in the breath. You can see it in the eyes. This is why some seasons around a lion feel empty to watchers, but full to the beast itself. The field may look wide, still, even severe, yet something is being preserved there. Something is being refined there. The same animal that once had to answer constant movement now learns how to live with silence without losing itself. And once that silence becomes strength instead of sorrow, the next sign is unmistakable. The body begins to carry the tension of release. And that tension of release is one of the holiest signals in the whole picture. You can almost feel it in the body before anything happens. The beast is low, but not weary, quiet, but not distant. The muscles gather under the hide like cords pulled tight. The paws settle into the ground. The breath shortens. It is readiness. Isaiah 60, verse 1 says, "Arise, shine, for thy light is come." Chosen one, there is a moment when hidden strength stops being storage and starts becoming movement. Now remember how this creature moves, not forever, not wastefully, but in a sudden burst. When the hour is right, that gathered force releases with speed that shocks the field. What looked slow becomes undeniable. What looked delayed becomes exact. The same frame that rested deeply now moves with purpose, and nobody watching can call it laziness anymore. They are seeing timing. This is why some seasons feel strange right before change. The air around the beast seems sharper. The silence feels different. Even the mane, full with age, seems to carry more weight in that moment. Something has shifted inside before anything has shifted outside. Habakkuk 2, verse 3 says, "Though it tarry, wait for it. It will surely come." So do not fear the tension if you feel it, chosen one. For the lion, it is not panic. It is preparation turning into action. But when movement comes, something else must break first. The old agreements that kept that strength chained down. And those old agreements always show up in the body before they show up in the ground. You can see them in a creature that has strength yet hesitates. The frame is ready, but some inner permission has not been given. The paws grip, then hold back. The chest fills, then tightens. The head lifts, then lowers again. Nothing is wrong with the power. Something is interfering with its release. Hebrews 12, verse 1 says, "Let us lay aside every weight." Chosen one, even in the image of this beast, weight is not always visible from the outside. Now name the chains by what they do. Fear dulls the roar before it reaches full force. False humility makes the animal act smaller than its own build. Comparison turns the eye away from its own ground and toward movement that was never assigned to it. Passivity lets the field get too close before presence is established. None of these things change what the creature is, but all of them can delay how it moves. Listen carefully. The mane may be full, the rest may be over, the burst may be near, and still an old agreement can keep strength folded in on itself. That is why the next moment is so serious. The beast does not need more ability. It needs release. And once release comes, the sound changes first. Not the sprint or the dust, the sound. Because before the body surges forward, the throat must open. And when the throat opens, chosen one, the whole atmosphere knows something has shifted. The sound does not come out timid. It rises from deep in the chest, travels through the neck, and breaks into the air with force. That is why its call reaches so far, not because it is frantic, but because it is full. A lion's roar can carry for miles, and before the body even moves, the ground has already been warned. Joel 3, verse 10 says, "Let the weak say, I am strong." There is a moment when the creature stops agreeing with hesitation and starts announcing identity. Now feel that turn. The ribs expand. The mane trembles with the force of it. Dust stirs at the paws. Nothing outside has changed yet. but everything has been put on notice. That is what happens when old agreements break. Fear loses its grip. Passivity loses its hiding place. False smallness can no longer sit in the throat and block what was meant to come through. It is release with direction. It is presence becoming undeniable. The field heard silence for a long time, and then it heard truth. Proverbs 28, verse 1 says, "The righteous are bold as a lion." So if the sound is finally returning, do not treat that lightly. Because once the roar is restored, the next thing heaven does is not merely teach, it seals. And that sealing begins in prayer. And this is where we stop analyzing the beast and start praying over what it has shown us. Father, in the name of Jesus, I lift up every chosen one listening right now. Let the image of this creature become more than a picture in their mind. Let it become a witness in their spirit. As the lion rests without losing strength, teach them holy stillness. As the mane deepens with age, honor every hidden season that has added weight to them. As the roar reaches far before the body moves, restore their voice with clean authority. Isaiah 40, verse 31 says, "They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength." Lord, do that now. Breathe on every part that has felt tight. Where fear closed the throat, open it. Where false humility bent the neck, straighten it. Where distraction scattered focus, gather it. Where passivity made the pause hesitate, let courage settle into the ground beneath them. Let their presence stop apologizing for itself. Let their spirit stop bowing to smallness. And Lord, where the old agreements still cling like dust in the mane, shake them loose. Let the chosen one feel strength return to the chest, peace return to the breath, clarity return to the eyes. Let them know the difference between noise and authority, between hiding and preparation, between delay and timing. Because in this final moment, one thing still must be spoken over them plainly, and once it is, they cannot go back. And so, chosen one, I seal this over you in the name of Jesus. May your rest no longer be mistaken for weakness. May your boundaries hold. May your voice return clean, deep, and unafraid. May the years that darkened the mane also deepen your discernment. May every burst of strength come in God's timing, not in panic. Psalm 91 says you will abide under the shadow of the Almighty, so let that covering settle over you now. Let the throat open without strain. Let the chest fill without fear. Let the ground under your feet feel known again. And as this apex predator carries no natural terror over its head in its own place, may heaven teach you how to stand where God planted you, without shrinking, without scattering, without surrendering your shape. Because when the dust finally lifts after the sound has gone out, what remains is not noise. It is a line in the earth, paw-pressed and clear, and the air around it feels different. Nothing argued with the mark. Nothing voted on it. It was simply there by morning. Then the wind moves through the coarse mane, the light settles on the open ground, and the body that once stayed still now stands easy in its place. No rush, no proving, just weight, breath, and quiet authority. If this word stayed with you to the end, subscribe and leave this in the comments. My voice is back. And if it strengthened you, tap like. Let it travel farther than you can see.